How do you go from being rugby tackled by security in PlayStation's office to accidentally becoming the voice of Battlefield? I don't know, but David Menkin does, and we're chatting with him all about his journey from continuity announcer to Blink actor of Pragmata and much more in today's episode of the PlayStation Access Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the PlayStation Access Podcast, the official podcast of PlayStation UK. I am your host, Rob Pearson. We are joined today by Connor Jackson.
Hello.
And a very special guest, an actor whose career spans 25 years, with TV and film credits including the likes of Zero Dark 30, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Red Dwarf, and The Sandman, although Access listeners will know him from video games such as Killzone Shadowfall, Horizon Zero Dawn, Final Fantasy XVI, which I'm very excited to ask you about later, and most recently as the voice of Hugh Williams in Capcom's sci-fi adventure Pragmata. We are delighted to be joined by David Menkin. David, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you.
It's really amazing to speak to you. I have really enjoyed your work, especially in Final Fantasy XVI, which I'm going to ask you about later. But we are also here to talk about Pragmata, of course. It's just come out on PS5. Connor, you've been playing it and really enjoying it, I understand.
Yes, I have. Yes.
But first, before we get into that, and we've also got some community questions from our audience as well, which I'm going to put to you.
Oh, awesome.
But before we get to that, David, I just want to ask you about your career up to this point, because it's been a long and varied career across TV, across film, across video games.
Well, 25 years, I'm officially old,
yes,
I guess.
Yes, I guess so. But tell us, tell us about your career. How have you got to this point today?
I trained in musical theater. I went off to New York and studied there, and then I kind of grew up in the UK from the age of 10 because of my dad's job. So I went to an American school. That's why I sound like this. I didn't grow up with the Surrey accent.
You can do it very well, though. That was very impressive.
Very much. Thank you. I'm an actor. So and then I came back to the UK and I trained at a place called Mount View, and then came out, and then I was like, is it musical theater that's really the thing that I want to do? And I always loved animation, and always sort of just was very interested in how animation was made, and also got a chance to do continuity for a TV station, and through that went from sucking at doing voiceovers to actually being okay and understanding how to use my voice and stuff like that. Then I got a chance to be in a film, and I was like, I really like screen as well. And bit by bit, my voice work started to take over. And I had a chance because I was helping a casting director with some castings. And she was like, I'm casting this weird game for some Swedes. Do you want to come in and help me? And I did, and I stood there and I let people in and out of the room, and sometimes came in and read with them. And then at the end of the day, she went, why don't you just go in and try? And that's when I was cast as Preston Marlowe in Battlefield Bad Company.
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
And that's how my games career started. So
that is such a cool story.
Yeah,
so when you say some weird game for some Swedes, you're actually talking about DICE and Battlefield
EA
Bad Company.
and one of the launch games for PlayStation 3.
Amazing.
Because they told me that they had a version of the PS3 actually drilled into their wall at DICE.
I guess no one can steal it that way. That's
exactly it. That was
sturdy.
exactly the way to do it. And yeah, so, and that's how I started, and I fell in love with. I'd been a bit of a gamer when I was younger. Like I had neighbors who had the Commodore 64, and my mom hated anything video games related, so I wasn't allowed to have anything. But my friend Gustav had a PlayStation 1.
Ooh.
and or just the PlayStation. So I went over and started playing with him, and then my dad and I sort of managed to convince my mom that an Amiga 500 was really needed for me to learn how to touch type.
Of course, it's a necessary skill. Everybody has to learn.
Yeah.
So like that's when I played games like It Came from the Desert, and you know, I'm part of the like going to somebody's house and seeing their PC and seeing if they have Frogger on it. That's the way I was introduced to games. So I started by acting in video games, and then thankfully YouTube made it possible for me to watch walkthroughs and stuff like that, and that's how I sort of fell in love with and started understanding games. But then and then in the last years, I've been lucky enough to have a console, and
amazing.
And yeah, so I'm a gamer. My nephews call me the ultimate noob, but
That's a really good username if you wanted to start your
the
own
ultimate
YouTube channel.
noob.
Yeah.
The ultimate noob
playthroughs.
69. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
It's really fascinating how you mentioned doing continuity announcement work on television and how that enabled you, or basically, I guess you sort of learned on the job and learned how to use your voice.
Yeah.
And I always mention this whenever we have an actor come on the podcast. I hope it's not weird for me to say you have a fantastic voice.
Oh, thanks.
And hearing it in the microphones, there's just like a quality to it that is just enchanting.
Oh, thank
like
you.
How does that process work then? I'm really interested to know how, you mentioned you learned how to use your voice. Like,
Okay.
what do you mean by that? Can you dig into that a little bit?
So these days there are webinars. It's if you want to do something, someone has done a YouTube series. Someone has monetized a way to teach you how to do it.
There's
right?
a course for everything. Yeah.
For everything. When I got started, the only way to move into sort of broadcasting and voiceover and stuff like that was to formally learn by going to school or by learning on the job. So it was apprenticeship, and because I'm half Norwegian, there was a Scandinavian broadcaster in the UK, and they needed people to come in and be freelancers for them.
Oh, okay.
And I was on an audition with a Danish colleague of mine, and she was like, "I think you need to get in touch with these people." I went in and I was like, "Yes, I'm an actor," and I'd done some like stuff for Fox Kids when it was Fox Kids, before it became Jetix, and then before it was absorbed by Disney and stuff like that. But I didn't know how to do a lot of the things that are expected when you use your voice. So you use light and shade. You tease. All these things that we know now because we work in this industry. I didn't know about it. So I came in to this job and I was terrible at it. But they didn't have a chance. They didn't have a choice. They had to use me because they didn't have anybody else, and somebody was going off on maternity leave and stuff like that. So I stepped in and I was terrible for a long time. And then I was like, I don't want to be terrible at this. I should understand. I understand song. I understand acting. I understand, like, what can I do? So I started watching, listening to people on the radio and people on like BBC Two and Channel 4 talking in between programs and stuff like that. And through that, I started listening to the patterns and what they did. And my brain was good enough to sort of go, oh, okay, all right. So you're taking somebody from the end of a really sad show and you have to bring them into like The Simpsons or something like that. Yeah. How do you make that transition? What do you do? And bit by bit, I learned how to do it. And I should have monetized it myself because I ended up training loads of people because I had to learn it in a non-traditional way. I was able to teach it to people
of course.
by sort of just talking to them. and sort of saying, think of it as a roller coaster. What do you want to feel when you're watching something? How should I be speaking to you so you don't feel like I'm assaulting you?
Yeah.
And one of the main things that I used to say to people was if you are talking to somebody through a medium like the radio or on TV, think of an experience of either talking to them across the table or on a couch.
Yeah.
And that became my thing. And we had a massive cardboard cutout of an Oscar in the room. And I would get them to say, "Hey, Oscar," and then start talking afterwards.
Okay, that's brilliant.
And what that would do was get people to understand, like, this is a conversation. There's only one person talking, but it's still a conversation.
It's just your turn that's being recorded, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And then because of that, and because of my love of animation and working in cartoons and stuff like that, I then was able to bring that into the way I work in video games, where most of the stuff that we're doing, I'm either doing the task or telling someone what the task is and asking them to do it, and then trying to make it as natural as possible. And that's video games, right? You're either the person or the character or the thing doing something, or you are the person telling them what they should do in order to move on, or you're the thing or the character that's trying to stop them from doing it. Those are sort of the
archetypes,
the
I
archetypes,
guess.
exactly. So, and because of that, all of those things sort of created the perfect storm for me to be able to work in this medium.
I love that kind of insight in terms of, like, just that little line, "Hey, Oscar," and it just sort of leads you into the tone, I guess, you need to adopt when you're doing voice work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really interested in the different. We've had guests talk about this before, but with your sort of like background and experience across TV and film and video games, I'd love to get your take on, because it almost feels like a completely different art form, acting on the screen versus pure voice acting when you're in a booth. Because I don't know if many people really can appreciate or understand what you have to do with your voice, and I guess also your body physically when you're recording just voiceover versus when you're physically on a screen. How do those two experiences differ for you as an actor?
When I work on the screen, I am put into the situation that the character's in, right? So the set is there.
Yeah.
If I have to go to the sink and switch it on, it will most likely be working. That's the kind of thing you just sort of, there's sort of a cultivated reality, right? And that's amazing because, and then you also have the people that you are working with. They're usually in the room with you. Now, what happens, of course, is that the weird thing about it is that we will do it again and again and again. We will do it in a wide, so hi, hello, the wide, and then there will also, but it's usually one camera or just a couple of cameras, and then bit by bit they will move in. So then suddenly we're now on, let's say, a medium close-up. And then we'll cut back to you for a medium close-up. And after that, well, it's the real close-up, of course, comes the next time we do the scene.
Yeah.
And then they've now moved me in, and maybe the magic of editing suddenly now has a massive close-up on my face. Who knows? Depending on your editing skills. Yeah, right.
We'll put it in.
Yeah,
We'll make it work.
Okay, all right.
We'll
back to the
definitely
wide.
edit that.
Back to the wide. We don't want to. Yeah. So there's that. So there's a lot of repetition. There is that feeling of when it comes to screen work mainly. You have to reset to zero. So if it's an emotional scene, the technique that's expected of you, you know your lines, you understand where the camera is, you understand what you're doing in front of the camera, and then you make sure that at the end of the scene and when you're resetting, you can go back to zero. You're not still having the argument, let's say.
Yeah, wipe the tears away and carry on.
Exactly, and then you carry on. Now, when I'm in the booth by myself, it's very much something that we call the theater of the mind. So I usually am by myself, and I will have maybe the narrative team or the director, and then I'll have hopefully a performance director on the other side who is working with everybody in the game so they know what's going on. And bit by bit, they are sort of creating this tree that is creating the game. And my job is to understand what they need from me without hearing how the other person's talking.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I will ask is my character affected by the environment that they're in? So Barnabas in Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
I went in and I was like, so according to the script here, I have parted the waves, and it's quite intense. Would you like me to yell over the sound of cascading water? And they went, no. No.
Okay.
No. He is unaffected by the environment. Think of him as having an internal speaker system. So he just stands there and talks like this at all times, because that is all he needs to do. And he's quite bored because he's been alive for a very, very long time. So you learn what is expected of you, and then you have someone reading in with you, right? It's not the actor.
Yeah.
But what they're making sure is that because I've gone into the same booth that they're in, usually, and it's the same microphone and stuff like that, the team then have the perfect sound that they can build, so that they know that I sound like this on the mic, they're going to sound like this on the mic.
Yeah.
And then everything else is expected of me, the actor. So, I love how, like, during strikes and stuff like that, you get to read the comments, and they're like, all they did was they walked in, they looked at the script, they read it a couple of times, bish bash, but like they think it's Krusty the Clown, you know. And then it's
really
like
enjoying the accent you adopted for this hypothetical commenter. Then,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Tough guy Brooklyn commenter.
Yes, exactly.
69.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Total noob 69. And they think that's all we do now. But what we will do in the session is make sure that, I need to think about has the person that I'm, or the character that I'm speaking to, or about, have they been mentioning something that is very important in the game? Am I also doing the same? Is there something in here that the player needs to know about? What am I giving a clue to something? Am I secretly the bad guy, but I'm acting like the best friend? Well, I need to check with the team. Does the player know that I'm the bad guy at this point? Or does the character suspect that I'm the bad guy? What are all of the things that I need to be aware of so that I can give the right performance for this moment? And that's my job. I have waffled on. I hope any of this makes sense. But what at the core of it is the fact that I have to create everything inside my own head in order, without really knowing anything other than like seeing a drawing of my character, and getting some information from the narrative team. It is up to me at that point to just make sure that that I am giving the team everything they could possibly need, and maybe add some extra sauce.
Yeah. You've got to put a little bit of yourself in there.
And go like, hey, I've noticed this. Can I give that a shot? And then they'll go, yeah, and you'll see the talk back, or the microphone that's in their part of the studio behind glass goes off, and you see them like and then they come back and they go, oh, yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, all right, give it a try. And then bit by bit, as we get to know each other better, there's subtext, there's I kind of understand more and more and more of what's needed, and then bit by bit, we are sort of crocheting the story together, and then 2 to 3 years later, sometimes I get to go, oh yeah. All right, so that's what they meant. I had no idea, but yeah.
I think that might be the most beautifully eloquent description of that process that
Thank
we
you
have heard
for
thus far on the Access podcast. I love, just presumably you're just tweaking the dials ever so slightly based on whatever circumstance your character is in a game. Like I particularly enjoyed you talking about, does the character know that I'm a bad guy? Does the player know that I'm a bad guy?
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine how you just imperceptibly shift tone very slightly depending on all of those factors.
Yeah.
That was really fascinating to hear. What I'm also interested in is, because of the amount of time that you spent acting in video games for the best part of 2 decades now, over 2 decades, how have you noticed video games as a medium changing in that period? And how would you say that compares to the differences in TV and film? Because from an outside perspective, the technology of video games, how video games look, the quality of the storytelling and the performance capture has, been revolutionized over the last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
Like how, as an actor, how has that change been for you? And is it something that has impacted or affected your approach to acting in video games?
Acting in video games used to be part of the post-production process, right? It used to be just a means to an end to get information to the player. Also, cutscenes used to be a way for them to decompile everything from that level and build the next level. So cutscenes were there specifically just to stop players having to look at a blank screen. That's how things. That's what we were there for. We were there to give it a little bit of engagement, right? And then, and like back in the day, it had to fit on discs. Then it had to fit on a CD-ROM, and then bit by bit, those restrictions were lifted. And with the restrictions lifting came an opportunity for the people who made games to give players more information and give them a chance to engage more with their game, and also took us from just having that thing of just saying a couple of words so that you understand that pixel was that character versus that character, right? Bit by bit, suddenly our little pixels grew to characters that started having individual lives, and as actors, we were brought in to suddenly just take it to another level, imbue these characters with life, I guess, and then the restrictions on them lifted, and the opportunities arose. So, for example, when I did Battlefield Bad Company, they were like, we've always wanted to do something like a buddy movie or something like it. And Three Kings, that's what they used as inspiration, because it was dysfunctional guys in a
I didn't even think about
unwinnable situation.
Yeah.
Right? And everything's against them, but they use humor as a way to get through it. And because of that, they just let us into the studio. We had to read the script as is a couple of times, and then they were like, throw it away.
Go have fun with it. Yeah.
Go. And now my character, Preston, as the player character, I couldn't imbue too much, so I had to keep things going. But the guys around me got to riff, and then by the time we got to Bad Company 2, Preston, they were like, go for it. Why don't you? You're just as dysfunctional as them. Come on. Because they were so worried about, we still need to have the hero. We still have. We need to make sure that he doesn't have too much personality, so that everyone feels that they can be him.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but what's happened, and that's exactly the other thing that's changed. They're not afraid to have characters be flawed, even protagonists.
Yeah.
And they're no longer afraid to have antagonists be like the traditional villain. Sometimes we can empathize. Sometimes we can totally understand why they're doing what they're doing. And because of that, they've needed better actors.
Yeah.
So
There's more nuance in the character, so you need more nuance in the performance.
exactly.
Yeah.
So luckily, I was part of a group of actors based in London that were doing good work in theater, in film, TV, animation, audio drama, and then there were studios that were setting themselves up to record for developers and publishers, and they were like, "Do you want to come and it's not glamorous. We just want to create good work, and we know that you're good at what you're doing. Please don't have an ego about it. You might be a lead in one thing, and then you'll be an NPC in 3 games, and then suddenly you'll be a lead again, because they do not know who you are.
Yeah.
Developers have no idea who you are. Do not take that as something bad. It means that it's a fresh slate every single time.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, I was part of this group, and I'm in so many games. I have annoyed you in so many games. Alien Isolation, I am the guy who is really twitchy. And so if you're crawling around trying to avoid the alien and the group of people, I'm the one going, "What was that?" and then shoots wildly. And of course, it's just my friends who are gamers who knew, and they're like, "David,
Can you stop,
you
please?
killed me again. You're worse than an actual xenomorph." I hope I haven't peaked. There you go. But yeah, so that's like the kind of stuff that I was doing, and then I started sort of being recognized by certain people in the industry, but I wasn't really recognized by players. And then that kind of picked up because they're like, David Menkin, he likes to yell, doesn't he? And then sort of just before COVID, it's a good sort of place to put it.
Sure.
We started getting sort of, I mean, we had the Troy Bakers and the Nolan Norths, and we had the Yuri Lewinthal's and all that kind of stuff. But suddenly we had actors being singled out and respected by the gaming community. And now, we have egos entered the room and stuff like that. But at the same time, what is great is that we as actors in games are being seen, and our colleagues who have always poo-pooed this type of work because they see it as beneath them, they're like, "Hey, so how can I get into that games work?"
How the turntables.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. But I have always loved it. I will stay in this industry as long as it will have me. I will call stuff out when I see bad behavior on a development, on a publisher, and an actor side. I've worked as an activist when it comes to sort of the rise of generative AI in our industry. But at the same time, I'm someone who goes, we've had AI in this industry for a really long time.
Yeah.
And trust me, if the only reason why you're playing these amazing games is because they've been able to use AI, but I don't want it to be abusing people and taking their work and reusing it. So I find that this part of show business, which is, but this part of our industry is the most interesting, and I'm really lucky to be in it at a time when it went from being the part of show business where in order to have a big movie you had to have a games tie-in, and now we are inspiring film, TV, music. You know, the composers that get a chance to create 180 hours of music.
Yeah, some of the work that comes out of games is incredible, and it's a medium that has so much more possibility than something like a film score, for example.
And then you get to go to the Royal Festival Hall and watch the BAFTA Games music concert, and you're sitting there sobbing.
Yeah.
Because not only because most people have a connection to music by either sitting and doing work or sitting and listening to it, but gamers get a chance to actually be in an emotional arc and an emotional journey while that music is playing.
Yeah, you're in the story.
You are in it. You are that character, and you are experiencing it, and that game right there made me cry so hard. And if I need to, Ghost of Tsushima.
For the audience,
Which is he pointing to?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. And if I'm having a bad day and I need to just get over it, I need to have an emotional release. I may just listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
A certain song in the soundtrack, and then have a little moment.
Yeah.
And then get it out of my system and then move on with my day.
You have the 5-minute cry, the timer goes off, and you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's get on with work again, or whatever it is that you need to do.
How amazing is this industry that it gives so much in so many different ways. So, yeah. I don't think I answered your question, but who cares?
We're going to get into Pragmata in a sec, but I just want to pick up on something you said, and it's certainly something that we've seen happen in video games recently.
Yeah.
Talking about, you'll go from playing a protagonist to playing an NPC, and that's par for the course for someone who's working as an actor in video games. But you mentioned we are starting to see the rise of, I guess you would call them, video game stars, and we haven't really had that to the same degree as we have movie stars, and it feels like we're on the pathway there potentially, where we're getting actors recognized in the street. We're getting people tuning into the video game BAFTAs primarily to see not just what wins Game of the Year, but who is going to win Best Performance. There's like a real audience investment and a community investment in actors, not just because of their characters, but for who they are as people and their own personalities. I'm interested to get your personal take on that, because I know Jennifer English famously said in her acceptance speech recently that probably video games, more than any other medium, characters are brought to life by so many more people than just the actor themselves. The famous quote, it takes a village of people to bring these characters to life. So I'm just interested to get your sort of take on how that momentum is shifting in terms of the audience's perception towards actors in video games.
Okay. Well, before I do that, I need to sit up because for some reason this amazing couch is just enveloping me, and I noticed that
more and
very
more
relaxed.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it will
there
swallow
we
you,
go.
yeah.
Okay, and I'm back. It takes a village. It is, and I have to say that actors in video games should never think that we are the reason why gamers are invested in the characters that we play, because there is so much that comes together in order to create a love for a character, right? That's one thing that I will say every single time. There are narrative teams. There's UX, UI. There's character. There's art. There's I can go on, but they are so important, and I also feel that we need the awards at the BAFTAs and at the Game Awards and all that kind of stuff, where people might find, like, they're like, well, why do we need to watch these guys come up and like, why do we need to let 5 of them speak? And it's like, because they're the reason why you love this game, right? This is it. But I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, which was the fact that now the characters that we play are so well-rounded and are very much built to evoke an emotional reaction in people. And I think that unlike watching a film, the amount of hours that we spend on a game, in a game, it's much, much higher. So the engagement there and the emotional investment is huge.
You very much feel like you know more about a character because you're spending all of this extra time with them. Yeah.
Exactly. And what I found is that it's the actors who make sure that when the game comes out, they play it, or if they're not gamers, they watch it. They study what that game has become, so that when we are approached by someone who says, I was going through a really, really rough patch in my life, and your performance or the game or that scene or that moment made me think about my life differently. And the amount of people that, considering that I'm not very well known, the amount of people that have come up to me and said that, it's very humbling, very humbling. And I think that's why we now have superstars in games. I'm not here to try to get on Ben Starr's coattails, but the man is a unicorn. The man is he. For most of his life, he did not know that his love of games and his love of making a connection between one games franchise and another, and finding out who makes them and who made the music, all of that, because his brain worked like that. He was then able to channel into something very, very unique, right? And it is natural. It's not. He didn't make this up. This is him, and you can see how hungry people were for it.
Yeah.
Now, there's no way that I can compete with that. I can't go in and play every single Final Fantasy game, and every single time I ask someone, like, okay, so which Final Fantasy game do you think I should play? It's a different number, because they have had an emotional connection to a different game. But what I can do is be available to people. So therefore, and the industry has now made me available by doing cameos, by talking to people like you. And by going to conventions, and but I have a job, and I think Alex Jordan said something along the same lines to you, where like he feels that he should be, his part of his job is to Twitch stream, right? He wants to connect with the people who play the game because he feels in some way that he owes them that. I don't have the time to do what he and some of my colleagues do. Like, I don't understand how Neil Newbon has the time to travel around the world, do conventions, then be directing games, then be working with producers and upcoming actors, and then also has time to stream. I don't understand how they do it.
I guess it's just forget sleep. It's no longer important.
And gaming gaming neurodivergence, maybe. I don't know. like making ADHD work for them. I have no idea. I have no idea what their diagnoses are, if they have any. But these people, I take my hat off to them every day because I just go, I can't. I do not physically have the time to do these things. Because I do loads of stuff. I don't just work in games, right? I'm working across 2 different time zones. I'm working European and I'm working US. So, and I've said to Alex, I was like, do you just like come home, kiss the dog, pet the wife, and then go up because you're so tired, you've done it the wrong way around, and then you go up to your studio, and then you interact with all these people for ages, and then you come down, and then by that point, the house is dark. And he's like, that's pretty much it. Once again, I haven't answered your question, but I see a pattern here. But what I think is that there are, there's a dark side to it too. People are expecting a lot from us, and they are and people don't really know what boundaries are, especially with my streaming colleagues, because my streaming colleagues will be just talking about their lives, and then they might meet someone, and then they will say something to them, and it's extremely personal, and they'll go, "Oh man, that's because I just said that on stream. I didn't mean for that to become my identity." And I find that I have colleagues who have been very vocal about certain things in their lives because they've been like I think that people are allowed to be passionate about as many things as they want to be passionate about, but suddenly they'll be labeled as the person who talks about that stuff, and I'm like, were you ready for that? Do you know what is now expected of you? And I see, there's always a dark side to success. And I have seen a lot of anxiety enter my space because people are suddenly have gone from just being people who just do their job because they love it, and then now they are something.
Yeah, it's the difference between public and public in the sense, like you can be working in the public or you can be public facing.
Yeah.
And the two things they might sound the same, but they're actually very different.
Exactly. And so for example, on social media, and I am very open about this, I will talk about a couple of things because I think that it's important that people are educated about AI and I want to also make sure that my colleagues don't get taken advantage of in a lot of ways because this is a relatively young industry and there aren't a lot of rules like in film and like in theater, so people can end up being asked to sign contracts that can put them in very difficult situations. And part of my job, I feel, is to shine lights on those two things. But I have opinions about a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to go and now spew all of that so that I become someone who talks about that issue.
Yeah.
Unless I really want to, and unless I am educated. Yeah.
And on that note, let's talk about Pragmata because this is a game that has been. It was revealed very early on in PS5's life cycle, and people have been
it's supposed to be a launch game, right?
Excited about this for many years. Finally, it's here. Connor, you've been playing it.
Yes.
So Connor, we can dive into some specifics in a sec. But what can you tell us about your character, David Hugh? So you are playing like a dual protagonist, I guess you would describe Hugh as.
Yeah.
He's one of 2 characters you play as in the game.
Yeah.
Just what's the elevator pitch, if you will, for Hugh as a character?
Hugh Williams has been sent to the moon to try to figure out why we've lost contact with the moon. That's pretty much it. And he is someone who fixes things. He is there as part of a small crew that is pretty much sent to sort out communications difficulties, or if there are engineering difficulties that need to be fixed. That is why he's sent up there. And they don't understand or know why there's no contact. When he arrives, there is a moonquake, and it pretty much messes with his crew quite badly. So he is isolated and mortally wounded. And when he wakes up, he realizes that it's a little girl who has pretty much saved him. And he then very quickly understands that she's not an actual little girl. She's an android. And everything around them is pretty much trying to kill him. And also, after a little while, her. Stop them, really. And it is up to them to get to a place where they can communicate with Earth and get back to Earth. And at first, his relationship both to artificial life forms and to children is something that he's not thrilled about. He doesn't really understand either. But as time goes on, he is taught that being a space dad is okay.
That's a really lovely way of putting it. Yeah. I think as well, we can't talk too much about story, specifics anyway. But I have played quite a few hours of this. So I think I'm at the end of chapter 2. Just got to give you some context. And already you could really start to see the surrogate father-daughter bond, I guess, is a way to call it, start to grow and develop. And I feel like that must have been quite interesting because it's a very personal thing, as you said, that Hugh has difficulties starting and engaging with Diana in this sort of position that they're thrown into. But you wouldn't have been in the room with the person that's playing Diana, is that right? So that must have been quite difficult to build that relationship as time goes on, even with the help of a narrative director and whatnot in the room to help guide you.
Well, what I can say is that I was super lucky because I got to be it's not normal for a video game to have a table read.
Oh, okay. Right.
And so I'm giving away state secrets here.
Okay.
But if there are any developers watching, please give your narrative teams and your actors a chance to do a table read because you will learn so much from it. And it will also get your actors to understand how to work together, even though they may not necessarily be in the studio together. So what we had a chance to, so I got to sit and work with Grace Safe,
right?
Who is
okay,
an amazing actor in their own right. She's just wonderful, and because of that, when I had to go into the studio, I had her voice in my head, and then after a couple sessions, I'd be like, "Can you just play me a little bit of Diana?" And immediately I understood. And then from a personal point of view, I'm not a dad.
Yeah.
I am married to my job, and my job cannot give me babies.
Yeah.
But I am. I've given myself a prize, which is the best uncle in the world, and I get to I've been super lucky to watch 4 nephews. I've changed diapers, and now they're adults, and I have been in very challenging situations with young people, and I didn't have I didn't have the chance to think of myself in like as a parent. I had to sort of talk to them as if they were just mini versions of adult humans. And I've expected so much of them through their entire lives, and because of that, they also expect a lot from me. And that's personally what I brought to Hugh.
Yeah.
I was like, I understand what it means to protect someone, or to try to protect someone, but I also understand their need to understand the world around them. And if they're and whenever my nephews or anyone young really asks me a question about the world, it's my job to try to once again, just like I did when I taught people how to do continuity, to get to speak to them in a way that is accessible to them.
Yeah.
Because but also expects them to think, and that was sort of my internal process with Hugh.
That's super interesting.
But then at the same time, Diana is someone who frequently saves Hugh's life. That's not something I can from my personal life. My nephews never saved my life.
Yeah, like I've got all of these things covered, but these are, I can't. We're not. This is not going to happen.
They did not push me out of traffic. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, but yeah, it is. So the relationship was also the narrative team at Capcom Japan. They're amazing, and what was really lovely was that this was English first production. So
okay.
So I know that a lot of Japanese developers like to record in Japanese first,
yes,
and then localize it. And this was not that. And because of that, we had a team that would be writing things or talking amongst themselves in Japanese, but we had the wonderful Nate. I don't know if I'm allowed to say people's names, but as the narrative lead for us, who, he's an American who lives in Japan. So, and we would just constantly be talking back and forth about like, what's the emotional connection? What is the thing that we need to get across here, because it needs to work on a human level before it works on a language level.
Yeah.
Right? So that was important for everybody.
No, that makes sense. And I think you can really feel, having you sit there and explain how your perspective of Hugh and his development and his relationship with Diana is informed by your own life experience. I think there is an element of that you can feel in the performance, which is, it feels very real. And I know that's obviously what actors and performers are going for.
Yeah.
But this is a palpable thing. There is a real care and love and attention for Diana and your work as Hugh that I just think is very special. And I think you did an amazing job.
Thank you. Thanks. But then at the same time, it's also about the gameplay, because it's unique as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, absolutely. Which is it's been really interesting.
How's your brain? How's your brain doing?
I'm all right with it. I heard when we kind of met just before we come into the room that you was discussing with someone about the kind of left and right brain.
Yeah.
While you're doing everything in the game all at once. I've not found it too bad, but I can imagine for a lot of people it is kind of like trying to tap your head and rub your stomach at the same time. It's like getting your hands around everything might be quite tricky the first few times that you do it, but give it enough time and you really lock in, and it just kind of becomes second nature, which has been brilliant.
And what I love about what Capcom have done here is that they've said, if you're unsure, we have a free demo, and we kind of encourage you to play the demo first anyway.
Yeah.
because it's like people are like, is it like Magic Eye? Is it like a Magic Eye portrait? And I'm like, no, it's not. It is, for some reason, it is something that we have the capacity to do, but we do it automatically inside our heads. So therefore, when you're working with the pad, when you're on the console, you're just like, am I able to translate this?
Yeah.
And you are.
I think it's really interesting because I remember seeing a friend of mine play. We first saw it at the demo, which is pretty much the publicly available demo now.
Yeah.
At Gamescom last year, so this is like August time in 2025.
My jealousy seized.
Sorry,
I could not. I was like. They were like, no, don't, stay away. Stay away. Yeah.
No, it's so we were in the kind of Capcom booth, and there were two of us doing the session. So my colleague Alex, who was downstairs, who you've met, he got to play first. And I remember looking at him, and obviously you're not really paying attention to his hands. You're looking at the screen, and just thinking, oh boy, this looks complicated. And I could totally see why people who haven't actually perform the actions with their hands themselves are looking at it going, oh, this is unintelligible. This is, how am I going to break into this? And actually, like you say, the second that it's put in front of you and you move your hands and you start pressing the buttons, and it just kind of goes, oh yeah, no, this is actually way easier than I'm anticipating it to be. And all of a sudden, as things get more and more complicated, it's a real rush to kind of solve these puzzles while you're in the throes of a big action set piece.
And you have to keep moving. You have to. Yeah.
You're like doing all of these things at once, and it makes the combat less of like a twitchy action fest and more of a puzzle, which I think is really interesting because it still retains those action elements, but you constantly have to think about everything, but it does become second nature kind of mechanically with your hands. While you're doing the hacking, which is, it's such an interesting feeling that I don't think I've felt in a game before. So when you say, like, when people say it's unique, I think from my perspective, that's what unique means in this.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's unique.
And also, were you surprised when you got the hand on the shoulder?
A little bit,
because it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
just, and I think thematically and story wise, it'll work brilliantly as well. Like the moment when you're fighting them, and this is in the demo, so I'm not giving anything away, where you're kind of shooting the robots for the first time, and you're going, oh no, I'm in trouble. Like, they're just not taking any damage.
Yeah.
And then you get this hand on the shoulder that's like, I'm here, let me help. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is what we're doing, and it's just the game just goes up and up from there. It's brilliant.
And the Sanctuary as well, which is going to be, I have a feeling people are just going to hang out there listening to music.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what people actually think about it, because there's so many really interesting little ideas. Like, who thinks that you sort of can be like, oh, I'll just like go there and put on the lunar atmospheric music while I'm doing work and stuff.
Yeah.
It's also available on YouTube, I think. So it's like, it's going to be very interesting to see what people take and what people are drawn to with this game, because it's, how many games at this level are new.
Yeah, and it is new in every sense. I remember thinking while I was playing it, the combat feel, obviously, as we've discussed, is its own thing. The setting, people might think of things like Dead Space, but it's not really survival or horror in any sense. But there is a terror and the fear, like in the design of some of the creatures, the machines. It's just its own thing. It's built this own little world, its own little space in the kind of the environment of gaming, and especially given it's, as Rob alluded to, this was revealed back in 2020.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. It must have been hard for you to sit on for that length of time, because it is you in the trailer, like the initial reveal trailer, I believe. Are we not allowed to talk about that?
I may not be the original voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I joined the project in 2024.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So they may have just used some kind of like
Somebody awesome
yeah. Okay.
who just wasn't available. Thank
the stars.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because obviously it doesn't name anybody in the trailer. But I do remember like obviously having now played as you. I hope that doesn't come off as a weird sentence. For several hours. Yeah, I thought it was you. So apologies for that.
No. That's everything that's been playable.
Yeah.
Is me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's my yeah. So it's and I don't know if people are interested in this kind of thing, but you know we had a mocap team in Japan, and then I wore something called an HMC, which is
Is this a suit with the ping pong balls all over?
No,
it?
this is
okay.
this is just for your head.
Right.
So it's like a interesting bike helmet.
Okay.
And what it does is that it maps your face, it maps your features, your blinks, your mouth movement. So therefore, the mouth movement is mine.
Right. Okay.
The eye. So it's you sort of this is me, and then they have the like Hugh's rapping on top of it. It's such a weird thing when you like dissect it. Because it just becomes about like, oh, let's just peel your face away, which is just, but yeah. So we have, you know, there's a performance element that was done by our amazing mocap team, and then we as actors come in and we're giving the vocal and facial performance.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that's why it's like, am I a voice actor in this game? I'm a blink actor. Yeah.
And a mouth actor.
Yes.
I guess as well, having to wear this kind of contraption on your head does put you in the frame of mind to be a character in a helmet for like the entire, at least for the several hours that I played.
Yes, absolutely. And it is after a while, the pressure of it really does start to get to you. And you're doing like several days in a row and stuff like that. Poor me.
Yeah. Woe is me. Yeah.
We've got a couple of community questions before we wrap things up because we're running short on time. So I'm gonna ask a couple of these. Connor, was there anything else you wanted to ask David before I dive into the community questions?
No, it's okay. We can go on.
So we have got a question from Mick DC who asks David, what is the most challenging project you've worked on in video games, and if it's a separate answer, which one was the hardest on your voice?
I can't say what it was, but I did end up working on a game where I screamed so hard and so long that I lost my voice for 3 days.
Oh wow.
God. That was one thing. I've also worked on a project recently where I was asked to go from sitting to standing and hyperventilate because I had to be, you know, like and then scream in different scenarios so many times that in the end I fainted.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
And I don't know if you can see, but I'm still dealing with it. So there's a picture of me on social media, and what happened was I fell onto a stand.
Oh no.
And then, you know, I'm not a small guy, so I had forward momentum as well. And I, business carpet is
Not soft. Yeah.
so yeah, those were hard. But then I had But the thing that happens to me usually is that I get tackled by security.
Right.
So,
oh yes.
Yes. So it's happened twice. One of them at Sony headquarters in London. Hey Sony. I was working on iToy Kinetic, which was a personal training game.
This is a blast from the past.
Yes, using the Kinetic and the iToy, and it was, so I was there, and it was a cool game released in 2005, and then I went down for a break, and I came back up in the elevator in the lift, and all the floors look alike, so I just followed the crowd out, and was walking along, and I just heard a excuse me, mate. Excuse me. Excuse me. And then suddenly I was surrounded and up against a wall. And I was asked for my credentials. And later I found out that was the planning floor for PlayStation 3.
Ah, yeah,
Wow.
that would do it. Yeah.
Wow.
And the second time was at Riot headquarters in LA when I went to visit because I play Breach in Valorant. And I was taken to a building because they wanted to show me the Breach conference room. And we're walking through, and then the words you don't want to hear in America at the moment or anytime is, sir,
Oh, no.
sir, sir. And suddenly, once again, surrounded and pinned.
I've been here before.
And I was like, oh, yeah. And trying to explain to them that I'm a part of this. I exist.
I'm the conference room guy.
Yeah. So I did say to the security guard, it's fine for you to take me out, but can one of your team just take a photo of the door? And they did.
Oh, that's nice, I guess.
Hi, Riot.
My favorite part of that story is the difference between LA security and London security.
Yes.
It goes from, excuse me, mate, to sir.
Sir.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. So you've had some experiences. Amazing stuff. A question that I think you also wanted to ask, Connor. This is from Nick Mad, who says a question for you regarding your standout performance as Luke Skywalker in the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I'm curious what kind of preparation might go into taking on the role of such an iconic character. And bonus question: what is your lightsaber color of choice?
Do you have to ask? So taking on such an iconic role involves pooping yourself.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And thinking someone somewhere made a mistake. Because I'm not an impersonator. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
So I have to find the way to make it work. And I had heard that this project was going on, and I was like, I've been doing a Luke my entire life because I love Star Wars. So I just I got my agent to say, David thinks he can do this, and we got a reply, and it says, prove it.
That's
Oh,
the
no.
best.
So
Prove it.
So what I did was I went and I recorded every single iconic line, and then over the weekend was just in my apartment, just going through it, figuring out how to do it. And then I got the job, and I remember going into these sessions and, I'd get to say, I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. And I'm going, does anybody else have chills?
Just me.
Yeah. And they'd be like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Can you just do a slightly more upward inflection at the end? Okay. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And no, the best moment of it all was when we did the Luke, I am your father scene. Apparently I did it so convincingly that Lego got back to me and said, it's too scary. He needs to tone it down.
This is Lego. We're
Exactly.
talking about here.
It's for children.
So yeah,
Remember
and
the
then,
children.
Yeah. So once again, every day before going into the booth and seeing the lines that I had to do was very, very scary. And then, but then when someone tips Hamill off and he says, "Welcome, David Menkin," you then realize that it also involves sitting at a table and just sweating a lot. Just sweating. That's all I could do for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you get on with your day, and because it's your job, it's your job. It is so weird that I get to do this kind of stuff for a living. But it is so daunting, so scary, so exciting, and so adrenaline fueled that you can't possibly do anything else. I have no transferable skills.
Not only do I not want to, I literally can't.
I can't. I can't. You can't put... HR would never say yes to hiring me.
And it's a red lightsaber, right? Your color of choice?
Sure.
Green. Got to be
you.
green. Amazing. Well, David, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today.
It's been all mine.
I have
Thank you.
really enjoyed hearing all of your stories and insights. Pragmata, Connor, you've been playing it. I can't wait to dive in. It looks absolutely amazing. Everyone at home, it's out now on PS5, so let us know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube what you make of the game. Also, don't forget that our plus side game for April is Returnal, so if you're playing alongside us, get Returnal played. We'll have some more on that very soon. Otherwise, we will be back in 2 weeks' time for the next episode of the PlayStation Access podcast. We'll see you then.
Now, before we leave,
Okay.
I'm Scandinavian, right? Have either of you had salty licorice?
Yes.
I have not. No.
Excellent. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay.
Oh my God. This is an exciting turn of events.
You haven't had salty licorice before?
No, I've not. I've not had salty licorice before.
It is exactly what it says on the tin.
Right.
Any Scandinavian will tell you that they would sell their own grandmother for this stuff. It is very special, and it's like gold to us. So I think that for the pod, you should have a taste of Scandinavian gold.
Amazing.
And let us know what you think of it.
I am very excited. Connor, would you like some as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Yes, he does.
No pressure, though. Thank you.
Salty licorice.
Yes.
And it's in the shape of a fish.
Of course.
I can already smell it from here.
I was trying to explain... I have had this before, so it won't come as a complete shock to me.
Okay.
But try to explain to Rob what it was, and it just said it is exactly what it says on the
Yep.
tin. Yeah,
Okay,
there's no mincing it.
I'm going to eat this salty licorice then.
Enjoy. ASMR.
I apologise. That's fantastic.
Is it?
That is fantastic. Why don't they make normal licorice more salty? That's so good.
Your life will be better until you die of high blood pressure related.
David, I think this officially makes you my favourite ever podcast guest. The salty licorice.
Thank you. I'm available for sponsorship.
That's really wonderful. Play Pragmata whilst eating this, and you'll get the full
David Menkin
experience. Well,
You should always go full Menkin.
There's some extra layer of salt coming in now.
Yep.
It's like
building,
drinking
yeah.
whiskey. It has like a...
Yeah.
The taste hasn't finished yet.
There's a second life to
It's
it.
still coming through. Here comes the salt.
It's a new day, folks.
The salt is coming still. Wow, it's like a wave.
Future guests, bring food.
An
Bring snacks.
exquisite taste experience. David, thank you so much.
It's all yours, man.